Hi everyone. So today's video will be on a sentiment analysis model that predicts if the certain text or data that we are given falls into a certain category or not. So the data or the model that we are selecting today majorly will be a spam mail analysis. So you know that you get a lot of mails. Sometimes they might be the right ones, but some of them might be spam. And if you look into your Gmail or any other mailing services, there are a few models that are used within themselves which automatically classifies them as a spam or not. So we are trying to understand how that is being done by the system and hopefully create a small model to ensure the sentiments here. That is, we will create the model, and so creating the model, we'll be using a few things such as Jupyter Notebook. Okay, and we will be designing this using the basic machine learning applications using HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. All right. So to give you a bottom line again, so what we'll be doing here is we will just be trying to give out content into a certain text, and then we will see if that is a spam or not, and we will see how machine learning can be used to bring out that certain outcome that is required. So to start, initially what we'll be doing is we'll have to go to the command prompt. For that, we'll go to CMD, click on OK. So to open the Jupyter network, we should go to JIG Jupyter node. So once this is done, we will automatically be coming into this page. So this is the kind of page that we will be redirected to. All right. So first we will need a certain data set to train the model, because the model has to know which is a spam, which is not a spam, right? So we will have to first give them a data set, make the model to be trained with the data set, so that later the model, when any data is entered into it, the model will be able to tell us if it is a spam or if it is no harm, like which means that mail actually has any use in it or not. All right. So first of all, the model that I want to train in within downloads itself, I have just a second. I have saved the model within my downloads. As you can see here that I go to downloads. Oh, I'm sorry, it's been opened again. And we go to spam detection. So again, that cannot be opened, but just to show you that this is where the file will be. And so this is where we'll be working on Jupyter Notebook to get the things done. So next, what we'll be doing is we have to go file, new notebook, and this is the part where we will be training the model to do the certain things. So now we'll start with the code as to how it has to be done. So there are a few commands or basic syntaxes that has to be used when we are doing this. All right, so we'll start with import pandas as PD. So pandas is basically a tool which is used for handling and manipulating the data sets that is available. Okay, and the next line will be import pickle. And where are you importing this from? From sklearn dot feature underscore extraction dot text. Then we have something like import tf idf vectorizer. So from this, we have to import from the sklearn feature of extraction.x. We are importing the tfid vectorizer. All right, and then from sklearn.model underscore selection. We are importing the train underscore split underscore train underscore test underscore split. So what this basically does is it splits the data set into training and testing subsets. All right, so that is the part that we are mainly doing over here. Again, the next thing that has to be imported is from sklearn dot model, sorry, name underscore base import multinomial np. All right, and again from sklearn we will be importing from the sklearn pipeline. We will be importing pipeline. Right. So this is the first part. What we'll be doing, that is, we will be importing the required files that the system requires so that it can learn to do the specific action that we are training the model to do. All right. And next we'll be going to loading the data set. Okay, that is, we'll have to load the data sets in the system so that they understand which data set has to be worked on. All right. So for that, we have the next function, that is df equal to pd.read, which means now we have to read the file underscore, and you have to tell them what file it is. So it will be a CSV file, and then you have to give them the path. Okay, so the path would be spam.csv, which is the name of my file, and they have to come within double inverted quotes so that they know where it is, comma. Then we go to encoding equal to Latin -1, which will be the English version that we are going to train it. Okay. Double quote and close the bracket. All right. So the next step that we'll be doing is to select the relevant columns, and they'll be renaming them. That is, which is within the data set, so that they understand. So there are a few technical terms that we are using here, so we can just follow that. That is df equal to df dot iloc, then this bracket, not that one, this one, double quotes, comma, again, this one, 0, comma, 1, and close it twice. Because we have opened it twice, so we have to close it twice. And then we will have to go to the df columns. Okay, df dot is equal to df, again open the straight bracket, and then we go with an ampersand, and then we go to label, ampersand close, comma, again ampersand open, message. If label and then message. The next step would be to convert. So now we have loaded the data set, we have defined the rows and columns within that. So now for the system or the computer to understand what this is, what we'll have to do is that we will have to convert it into a binary form. So only when you convert it into a binary form, the system will be able to understand, because as you know, the system only understands zeros and ones. Okay, so to convert the labels to binary, that is ham. Ham matlab it is good, and spam is 1, which means it is not good. So what we have to do is df, open the bracket, double quotes, label, close, equal to df, again open, label, close, dot, map, open the bracket, and open the ampersand, ham, which is attributed to 0, comma, and then spam, which is attributed to 1. Then we close the ampersand, and then we close the bracket for the thing. Okay. And next, what we'll be doing is we have to split the data. So to split the data, you have to train the x-axis and the y-axis, and you have to train the message that is going to come and the label that is going to come, because you know that mails have a lot of components within them. So as soon as fast you'll be able to detect if it's a spam or not, we'll be able to follow that. Okay, so to split the data, you do is x underscore train, comma, x underscore test underscore y. So this is wrong. Test. Then next would be to y underscore train, comma, y underscore test equal to train test. Then what? Split, and we have, what are we splitting? That is the df component of the message label and the size of the text that might be coming into it. Okay, so we go with df, open this bracket, go with whatever the message that is going to come, close this bracket, okay, comma, again df, open the bracket again, and what is the label that we're going to train, test, and split. Okay, close them, this thing. Okay, and then will be test underscore, what is the size of the subject that we are testing. Okay, equal to 0.2, let's say. Okay, and comma, random state, random underscore state equal to 42. Okay, because that's a random number that the system will be selecting. All right, and next what we'll be doing is we will be creating a text processing and classification pipeline. Okay, so for that, what we'll have to do is model. What are we doing with the model? Okay, equal to pipeline. You remember we have imported pipeline earlier, right? Pipeline. Start with this one. Okay, this will come. So again, we are going to the vectorizer and the TDF vectorizer function that we had used earlier. All right, so it will be the next line. So for easier understanding, vectorizer, TF IDF vectorizer, stop words equal to English. Then we close it because we opened it twice. Okay, so vectorizer, stopwatch, English, and then what will be the classifier? Okay, classifier, multinomial NB, nominal NB, open, close, close. The next line we close the ampersand. All right. So next we come to the process of basically training the model. Okay. So for training the model, we go with model dot fit, and we're going to train x underscore train, comma y underscore train, and then we close the ampersand. Okay. So this is the part where we are training the model. Then we have to save this model that we have trained to a certain file. Okay, so once this is done, what we'll have to do is open, open spam underscore classifier dot pkr, pkl, sorry, this is a pickle file, comma, again wb, sorry, go to this, and then we go to ckle dot dump is the model, comma, model underscore file. And once this is done, what we want to do is we want the final result to be printed, right? So we have to know if it has been created or not. So we go with print model trained, and let's say save as spam dot pkl, and then we close it. All right, so this is the major coding part that we are having. So now we are going to check with the results. Okay, so now you can see that the code has been entered over here. So we select this code section and then we click on the run segment. So as you can see, we have trained the model and you get the response saying that the model has been trained and saved as a spam.classifier.pkl. All right. So the next step would be to create a flask, or we are creating an API. Okay. So that we are training the model to put in the content, and the content will be checked to understand if it is a spam or a ham. That is, if it is a spam or a correct one. All right. So for to do this again, we will go back to file. Sorry. So we go back to home. All right. And you can see here that the spam.classifier has been done. All right. So now we are going to create a new APK. So for that, what we'll be doing is you click on new, and then you click on a new file, and then let us rename it as app.py. Py. You open it, and then here we'll be entering the contents for the same. So once we do this, I already have the codes for app.py, which I'll be dropping in the comment section for your perusal later. Okay, so this is the code. So if you just basically look into it, you have something like import pickle. All right, and then from Flask, we import Flask. You request this, and then you enter the template. Okay, this will be the name of the Flask. Then you will be loading the trained spam classifier with all the data that we have. Okay, and once this is done, you're supposed to save it. Okay, so once it is saved, we will be closing this window. All right, so now we have trained we have given it to the Flask model so that the Flask model can take in response and give out the result to us. Now we need an interface as to how this can happen. That is, we cannot directly talk to the computer and get it done. So we need an interface which can be hosted. So we will be creating something. We will be creating an HTML interface so that you can carry out this entire process. So for that, we will be in the same file. You have to go to this, create a new folder. Let's name it as templates. All right. And within templates, you switch it on, and we will be creating a new file again. And this file will be our index.html. Okay, so index in the sense this is the part where we will be doing it. And to edit it, you have to double click on this. You have to open it with, and then we go to the editor section where this will be open. All right. So now we are about to create the interface in which the entire basic sentiment that we're doing is going to run. Okay. So again, for this, I have the code with me, which again, I'll be dropping it in the comment section for you to check it out. All right. So you can see that the language is given as English. Okay. And then we are giving a few width and the size of the scale and as to what message has to be taken and what will be the input and what will be the output. All right. And then we will be saving it again. Okay. So once you save, you get an option here on top saying that what is the last checkpoint or when it has been saved last. All right. And then we can close this. Our next option or the things that we'll have to do here is we'll have to create a text file, which is called as a requirement file. Okay. So requirement in the sense this entire model is showing the basic directories which it will be accessing to get the entire thing done. Okay. So for that, you go to new and then you go to the part of new file again, and then we name it as requirements dot txt. Okay, and then again we open it, and then we will let us type in a few requirements that is required. That is, we'll be requiring the Flask, we'll be requiring the scikit learn, which is a directory which we had imported earlier, if you remember. Then we have used pandas. Then we use the numpy. Then we have the unicorn. All right. So Flask. Please check with the spellings properly because otherwise there's a high probability that it might not run. Okay. SCIKIT learn. And then there's pandas. Then you have NUMPY numpy. And then you have GUNICORN. And the first one is Flask as it is. Okay. So it is SCI. All right. Again, you save this. All right. So this part is done and you save it and then you close it. All right. So now we have all the files that are necessary to carry out the entire sentiments process that we will be doing over here. So the next step will be to again open the command prompt and then you open it here. All right. And then you have to drag and drop the file so that you get so that the CD and then you have to drag and drop in the file which will be over here. Let me just drag and drop it so I can get the location. I drag and drop it over here and I get this option. I click on enter. Sorry, enter here. So now we are within that file and so now we are going to load the command. Python app.email. So now if you look into this, you can see that there is a link that has been created here. Okay, so this is the link in which the entire sentiment analysis is going to happen. So when I'm clicking on that, okay, just give me a second. Yeah, so when I clicked on it, you can see here that we have gotten the spam detector. All right, so we can just check out a few things like let's say, hey buddy. So you can say that this is a very personalized SMS that you're getting over here, right? So which shows that yes, it is a good one. Okay, and then let me go to something like, hey, let's say something like credit card, okay, which also says ham, but it is not carrying out an entire thing within that, right? So it is fine. Okay. So in this way, you can see that you can put in the contents over here and you can check if it is a spam or a ham. All right. So this is basically now done within my system that I'm using over here. Okay. So what happens is that it is in my local host. So if someone else wants to use this sentiment analysis of mine, it might not be usable. So what we'll be doing is we'll be using another software here, which is basically called as Docker. So within Docker, what we'll be doing here is that we will be using it to containerize so that it can be published so that other people also will be able to use it. So, like we discussed, the next step would be to work on Docker. So, as you guys know, Docker basically works with containers and images. Okay, so images are something that is being pulled into containers so that they can be processed for certain data processing where you can get the required results. Okay, so what we'll be doing here is I told you that we'll have to pull the image. So that image has to be created at the first place. Okay, so for that we will be creating a Docker image here. So for that you go to new file, and then you go to, let's name it as Docker file, and so open it, and then we are giving in the commands to create the Docker file. So again, I have it with me already, so that you can do that, right? So this is the Docker section that has to be done. So once this is done, when we do that, what you have to do is you have to save the document again. All right. And you can see that yes, it has been saved a while ago. Then you close it. So again, if you see that the Docker file is here or the image is here, so that can be used for us to pull. All right. So the next step again would be for us to log into Docker. And to log into Docker, we have to use a command prompt. Okay, so let us do that step now. All right. So as we discussed, let's close this command prompt. Okay, and let's open a new command prompt. All right. So now we will have to do the login part of Docker. So the command will be Docker login you and your username. So the password part of it will not be able to see by other people, which is a security measure. Okay, so you can see that my Docker has been successfully logged in. So if I go to my Docker app, for the people who don't know what Docker is, so you can see that there are containers over here. Okay, and then there are images over here. So now the images has to be pulled into the container so that the entire process can basically happen. So let us see how that can be done. So to do that, so as we were discussing, the next step would be to again find the directory of the path in which our folder is there so that it can be built. So again, I'll have to go to the file cd, and then you go to spam. Okay, click on this and then you go to enter. All right. So now we are within the system. So now Docker is going to build the image. So the command for that would be Docker build uh, hyphen t spam, which is the name of our spam detector. Spam detector space dot, which is very important because if you don't do that, it might not work. Okay. So Docker build t spam detector. Okay, so you can see that this is being happening, or it is basically pulling out all. Docker is basically pulling everything. Okay, with which you can see how this is going to work. So we'll have to wait for a while so that this process is going to be happening. So it is collecting and it is running all the details and all the things that we require to do the things. If you look into the right, you can see that the operating system that it is working on obviously is Windows, but a few things and the time it is taking to pull out the data is being shown over here. right? So this is done. So now we will look into the next step. So now, if you're looking into it, let's just minimize this file. Uh, if you are looking into this in the Docker, you can see that the image has already been built within our system. So now this has to be pulled into the container. So for that, we'll have to use the command docker run p space is important. Then you give the name of the port in which it is going to run, spam t over. Okay, so this will end. So now we can see that now it is within the work and it is pulling the image to the container. So as you can see that the process is happening. Um, so here you can see that you will be having the port over here. Okay, so now it has been published, and now we will see how the published version looks like. So now I click on this port. Again, you can see a published version of this. All right. So let me again try. Ready? Check. So it was a. So in this way, we can do the entire thing. So in this video, we have seen how we loaded the data set, how we made the model to train it, at the end how we give an HTML interface so that we can work on it. Then we saw that it was only working on a local host. So from the local host, we wanted to put it to a public server. So for that, we opened Docker, and within Docker, we first built an image, pulled that into a container, published it on a port so that people can use it. So this is the entire process about how this can be done. Thank you so much.